Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, a podcast about all things in and around the world of sport in Kansas City soccer. I am Drew Vanderpook, joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, the international break brought no reprieve from soccer pain, as the U.S. men's national team got fairly comprehensively beaten on the score sheet by both Belgium and Portugal, and the Kansas City Current put in one of the more hapless performances we've seen from that club in recent memory. In fact, the last time I remember them looking that listless, they were playing home games in a minor league baseball stadium. Needless to say, there was a lack of joy in the soccer department for the proprietors of this podcast, nor most of its listeners. This pod is going to be very non-Sporting Kansas City focused because, candidly, Sporting Kansas City played no games. So we're going to have to talk about the other games that we watched this week, and they were not great. But we soldier on, undeterred. There were at least noteworthy items in the games played by both teams to evaluate and likely criticize, as well as a silver lining or two so it isn't all doom and gloom. We'll also catch up on a few news items. One of them was fairly depressing, as well as get ready for Sporting Kansas City to get back into action in Salt Lake City, which, man, I didn't think that I would be looking this much forward to seeing a Sporting Kansas City match. As they head to on the road to a fairly difficult challenge against an RSL team that is playing quite well of late. So, Cody, let's start with the U.S. men's national team, which, as I noted, quite precipitously fell back down to earth after the results this fall, facing two opponents of obviously significant quality. These are very good teams. Portugal and Belgium have legitimate talent on their teams.
They're both top 10 teams in the world,
and they're not just top 10 teams by FIFA rankings for whatever reason.
They both have elite players
and multiple elite players. And it seemed like the talent gap was on display in a way we really hadn't seen since that Switzerland match last June. And that was kind of right after Pochettino took over. So that said, these are quote unquote unofficial games, according to Pochettino's descriptor. So the question for you is, are these results something or nothing in the grand scheme of things?
I think there's something. I think that the lack of all of our starting and top quality players, I think, has to be considered. I think the very careful distribution of minutes and generous substitution patterns, that has to be considered too. But I mean, it's still something. And I think that one of the things that we saw is that one of the reasons why the lack of talent stood out so much is that we have a coach who's not trying to compensate for that. He's not coming out and he's not leveling the playing field by doing a bunker encounter. He's not leveling the playing field by high press, Jesse Marsh style. He's expecting his squad to go out there and play and compete with top level opponents, and that they didn't do so or weren't able to do so consistently is not a surprise. I think, and I don't know what anybody was really expecting from these fixtures. But I was not really surprised at either one of them. It was a little bit disappointing, especially the Belgium game, how the scoreline ended up. But it's also, when you look a little bit closely at really all of the goals, practically all of the goals that the team gave up over both fixtures, like, it's kind of easy to explain away a lot of them. And I think that, their performance against Portugal, I think, was a lot better and a lot more even, and the underlying numbers kind of bear that out. And that was with just a completely whack-ass, tactical approach. And I think that tactical approach, I just saw in the rundown, you have why is Poach still messing with shit, and that's what he was doing. He was messing with stuff quite a bit over this window, and I think that a lot of people look askew to that, and I think that that's justified. But also, I think that one of the things that happened during the last World Cup is that we had MMA midfield, and that was it, and we ran that midfield into the ground, and there wasn't anything behind that, in terms of depth or talent, and I think now at least you have a better idea, and the players who are the depth have more experience in higher leverage situations than they did before, and I think that that's part of the plan, right? I don't think it's a much different approach than obviously Greg's approach. It's a much different approach than our buddy Jesse Marsh would have had with the team, and I don't mind it. I don't know how much it raises or lowers the ceiling of the team at all. I think it probably lowers the floor a little bit, just because if you're not trying to tactically compensate for the talent deficit, then I think that you can get exposed as they were. But I really just overall I don't have a super big problem with it. What do you think?
Well, let's hit that part of it. You said a lot of things. I have a lot of thoughts about many of those things. Let's hit the final part there that you sort of started your point with. Isn't it something that Poch is not trying to put this team in bunker and counter mode? He's not trying to go up against a bigger opponent and just capitulate to them. That he is actually just they're playing soccer and trying to play soccer against them, even if they're not succeeding in the way that we would like them to. And it sort of highlights the fact that they're just not quite as good as these teams. It wasn't as if, especially against Portugal, they were out of the game in any way. And in the first half against Belgium, similarly, they created a lot of chances, and you hear Pochettino after the game, they finally do get a goal after creating a number of chances, and the reason he wasn't celebrating, he's like, we should have had 3 by then, because the fact that we didn't have 3 is the reason they came back on us the way they did. And
well, the lack of run to play goals is concerning, but it's also not new, and it's also
this team's had this problem forever.
And it's right, but because it's the same players.
Berhalter, it's the same shit.
Because you don't have players who are elite in attack, and guess what?
So
shit happens.
Help me out with that, because that's the part that I just watching this team that is inherently frustrating to me. When I saw them play, I rewatched the first half of the Portugal game because I was pretty down on that performance, and probably more down than I should have been based on how the actual result went or how they actually played versus how the result went. But it never felt like they were that close to scoring. And it always felt like they were picking the wrong pass, that they were just a little like there were just a number of circumstances. And we're going to have a Malik Tillman discussion here in a second. I thought he was actually pretty good when I rewatched the half. Like he was the one guy providing outlets to a lot of overlapping runs or runs down the channel. And then just nothing would happen. Like they would get to the attacking third, and it would just be just a misconnected cross, or Pulisic dribbling for way too fucking long before deciding to actually hit a pass. There were a number of circumstances where guys were they were unable to pick out passes effectively. And listen, I understand Portugal is a good team, and this is a harder opponent to find those gaps against. But Christian Pulisic plays in Serie A. There are big fucking gaps for him to hit passes into there. It's weird to me to see players who are playing at this level, the level that they are. Most of these guys, right? They're playing for top 5 in their league European teams in a lot of circumstances. And they seem ill-equipped to read space effectively. And that's confusing to me. Like, that part is confusing.
It's not confusing to me at all. I think that is a distinctly American player type of problem, and I think that think that a lot of American teams and MLS teams are players who are joysticked, or their system is the star type setups, which is what that's what Greg was trying to do, right? The system is the system, right? The system is what's going to provide chances. The system is what's going to provide defense.
Well, it's also going to not allow the other team to score,
right?
Like
right.
That was the big thing with Greg.
Absolutely. And this is less system based and more personnel based, and that's, I think, why you're struggling, right? We have a lot of dual nationals on the team, but look, there's a reason why those dual nationals are playing for the United States and not for another team, right? They're not playing for the Netherlands or Germany or whatever or England, and it's because that they don't have the high soccer IQ that a lot or maybe the skill level that a lot of their counterparts do, who are on those teams or trying to break their way onto those teams.
I can get behind that argument when we're talking about Aiden Morris or Sebastian Berhalter or Tanner Tessman, even some of these guys that do play in Europe at decent teams,
right?
Johnny Cardoso, guys like that. I can get around that argument. I really struggle with Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic having these problems. Like, I really struggle with that.
Yeah, I think that they have less of those problems, but I do think that they also benefit from playing on really good teams with a lot of players who don't have those problems. And I think Wes has gotten a lot better, right? Like, Wes's progression as a player has far outpaced Pulisic's, in my opinion. And at the beginning of the year,
I would put Wes at very close to the same level as far as quality.
Yeah, especially after this window. I mean, Wes showed that he is.
Pulisic's playing like ass right now. Let's be
honest. He really is, and he has no confidence, and that's really apparent. And but I think that those players probably have a lot more of those reading the game skills than a lot of the other players, but they're only two players, and they still don't do it. They do it maybe at a break even level. They don't do it at an elite level, which is why they're not elite players, right? Like, that's like the whole thing, is that when you look at someone like Vitinha, like, not only does he have the elite skills and the elite athleticism and all of those things, but he also has an elite a mind and an ability to read the game and predict what.
That ball he hit was absurd, dude. And then
he's an absurd player. He is, and it. I think you and I talked that we were texting, and that they're bringing in subs that would easily start for the United States, and that are better than any of the other players that the United States have on.
They're bringing Joao Felix off the bench, Mateus Nunes, guys like that.
And look, I'm like, Joao Felix is not a good player. Like he's proven that over and over again, that he's highly overrated. But he also has played for a lot of really high level teams, and he still has high level skills and an ability to take advantage of it
especially when you just let him sit at the top of the box by him fucking self for
that's the thing, and that's
nobody around him.
And two, in addition to the sort of the seeing the field thing, is that the United States does not have players who have a killer instinct, and they don't have players who, and we saw that in both games. Like, when the United States players made mistakes, not only could they not compensate for those mistakes, and they didn't have anybody else to wipe them out, but they gave up goals on those mistakes, and they let other teams punish them for their mistakes. And the United States showed again and again an inability to punish. Like, Portugal in the first half turned the ball over like multiple times and gave away what should have been prime chance creation or counterattacking opportunities, and the United States wasn't able to do jack shit with it because they don't have those players. Right? They don't have
Bruno. If Bruno Fernandes is running downhill with the ball the several times that U.S. had it like that, like, they're scoring multiple times, and I think that's the point that you're making.
Yep,
is like,
absolutely.
They're not turning danger into a quality shot. That's just, they're not doing it enough, and I don't think that Portugal created a ton of quality shots in this game.
No,
but they had the players that will finish them.
Yep.
And that was the difference in the game. And I think Joe Lowry said something on TSS today that, if you play this game 100 times, the U.S. might win, 15 of them or something,
Right.
like 15 or 20 of them. And that may be true, but I think Portugal's going to win a lot more of them than he gave him credit for, and it's just because there's a talent deficit. So, I mean, before we get into the what does this all mean, let's get back to the tactical stuff, because I do think that there were some interesting tweaks between both of these games. In the Belgium game, we had Pochettino has been using what is effectively a 3-2-5, or what Matt Doyle likes to call a 3-2-2-3 progression shape, for basically since he switched to the back three elbow back thing. We have not seen, which was right around Japan/South Korea, in that range is when that tactical setup switched. Against Belgium, this is the first time he did not have a stay-at-home fullback or a third center back playing in that role, right? It was a legitimate four-man back line with a really sort of intricate setup where Tanner Tessman, if he was back, was splitting the center backs, but if Johnny Cardoso was back, he was playing left center back. And it was intriguing and interesting, really intricate, and required some very specific, rotational movements to make work. And it was kind of fun until we're going to get into this conversation too, until the freaking hydration break, and Belgium oh, this is what you're doing, we need to make these changes. And then it was fucking game over at that point. And I just this seems really complex for a national team to be trying to do. And maybe this gets into the why is he still messing with shit stuff, but I don't think international soccer is a game where you can afford to try to do this intricate tactical shit game to game.
So I would be fine with him trying that if he had first established defensive solidity, and that hasn't been established, and that's why I was.
Yeah, it's Tim Ream and Mark McKenzie. How the fuck is that supposed to work?
That's a problem, and that if it's a personnel issue, it's a personnel issue. But then you can't maintain then a tactical setup that doesn't take that into account, which is I think what happened. I think the United States has looked best, and by best I mean most balanced, and especially most defensively sound, playing just a standard 3 center back, 2 wing back type of system.
Which is sort of what they did against Portugal. I mean,
it was more that, absolutely,
with Alex Freeman sort of playing that third center back. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's why they were more competitive in that game and looked a little bit better. I would assume that the reason that they did something different against Belgium was to try and focus on midfield overloads and maybe as an attempt to neutralize KDB, but it also meant that it allowed Doku to have way too much influence on the game, and I think that was a huge problem.
Right. Well, you have Tim Weah playing as a natural fullback in that game, and it's not it's a role he's played quite a bit in his career.
Right.
But
not against Jeremy Doku.
Right. That would be he's gonna get eventually exposed, and that's what happened in this game. And leaving him on an island versus Jeremy Doku, like I said, I have it in the rundown. It's certainly a choice.
Yeah,
that's a choice. I want to sort of determine, is Pochettino attempting to build something here, or is he just trying shit?
No, I think he's attempting to do the things that Klinsmann and Greg always gave lip service to, but then kind of didn't follow through on. Right? I think he's trying to have a team that plays with the ball and that is able to, but also play with some intensity. And here's the thing: not only was the formational setup in the Belgium game a little wonky. But those players, as has been discussed in many other spaces, they did not come to play with the fire. They didn't. They just didn't.
Right.
And the thing is if they had. If they had, the game could have been a lot more competitive, because I'm telling you, if like, I think I heard today that there was one foul on Jeremy Doku in the first half. One. And that is not acceptable. You think about how CONCACAF teams beat the shit out of Christian Pulisic every time he touches the ball, and that's kind of how you have to act a little bit. And I guarantee you that if Belgium plays Argentina, there's going to be some hard fucking tackles on Doku, and that's a big part of the difference between I guess the footballing culture,
right,
is just like you can't let other teams dictate things to you as much as the United States did.
I think that goes back to an original point that we were making about the players being able to read the game effectively and understand and react to moments when they occur. In order to pull off that foul, you have to anticipate the play and do it without getting a yellow card. And that requires like an understanding of what's going on and an ability to put your body in the position to be able to pull that shit off. I'm not sure I trust Tim Weah to do that in that circumstance.
No. The only player you trust to do that in the pool at this point is probably Tyler Adams. Right? I mean, that's just it. Yeah, because those other players, like they had the chance, like if Malik Tillman was that guy, he had plenty of opportunities to come back and and back press and put the absolute.
Malik Tillman's an attacking player. He's not that guy. He's one of those 2-10s in the 3-4-2-1. Yeah. He's not a defensive midfielder in any way. Tanner Tessman, I promise, if Tanner Tessman was not 6'4", he would never fucking play for this team.
I kind of feel that way. I had high hopes for him, but I was not impressed with him at all.
If Tanner Tessman was 5'10", that guy would never play.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. It's pretty bad when coming into the camp, I rated Tessman higher than Morris, but after the camp, I'm like, I'll take Morris every day.
I mean, it's a small sample size, right? Sure. Off of one window,
right?
and Morris has been pretty garbage several times for this team. So
but he was not bad against Portugal.
Other than loafing on the goal, like both he and Tillman,
right?
He wasn't.
He was not the only one, right? And that's and that's another thing that we saw over and over again is this inability to especially in transition phases to account for zone 14 all the way up to the 6-yard box, right? Constantly players are left free and open in that space because the back line is allowing themselves to be pulled out of shape, and the midfield is not filling in and covering those spaces, and so you wind up with lots of chances from those spaces throughout the first two games, and you wind up with a couple of goals. The Onana goal, the first goal.
Trincao.
The Trincao goal. Like those are both those are goals that probably don't happen if Tyler Adams or a Tyler Adams level defensive midfielder is on the field. Tyler Adams fills that space.
But that's what I'm getting back to about like recognizing moments and knowing how to react to them. It never for whatever reason the switch didn't go off in Aiden Morris's head that like, oh, this is a fucking problem. Right. I need to get back here. Like we've discussed it before on the podcast. We're just like, you need to have an unbelievable level of pessimism to be a defensive player. And it wasn't there.
That applies to defensive midfielders. Absolutely.
It does. And it wasn't there. And there's just a cavernous amount of space after the back line, collapses as far as it does. And you and I texted about this. Like the back line collapses so far to the end line. They're just begging for a cutback over and over and over again. And there's just been multiple circumstances where that cutback zone has been wide open. And I just
that
kind of shit frustrates me, man, because Man City's been doing this for like fucking 15 years. Like, this is a well-known thing that teams do.
And it seemed obvious that was identified by both Portugal and Belgium as issues with the setup that the United States.
It happened. If it happened against the Netherlands, like that's how they got absolutely smoked in the World Cup in 2022 against the Netherlands.
And they will get smoked again. They will struggle to get out of the group phase if they can't find a way to fix that shit. And they can't just leave it up to Tyler Adams because this point he can't be trusted to be fit.
Well, and also that was the whole thing that happened against the Netherlands in the knockouts in Qatar was Tyler was not there. He was on a walkabout on a couple of those cutback goals. And this is why you need. I would have preferred to see Roldan start next. He played very little in this game, either of these games. He played at the end of the Belgium game, and nothing. And did he play in the Portugal game? Maybe he did for a little bit, but it wasn't.
Maybe at the end. Yeah. So I would have preferred to see him playing alongside Morris, but whatever, shit happens. I don't think it really would have changed either way, but I think I do back Roldan to cover that space more than any of the other players who are not Tyler Adams.
Right. I mean. I hesitate to call this like a hustle thing or like something like that, but I mentioned this in the rundown. I do think it's noteworthy that there is, in my opinion, this is just an opinion. This is I can't validate this with any statistics. It seems like there's a much more significant lack of urgency amongst the European-based players when things go wrong than there is amongst the MLS-based players. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just that those guys they know that they're at the bottom of the player pool, so they're running their ass off to try to be in the game. I think
that might be part of it. I think that also. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that a lot of those European players, they play with higher level defenders, and so they have more trust in their teammates around them. That's maybe
in an MLS that ain't the fucking case,
right?
Dude.
right.
Sebastian Berhalter knows if shit gets behind him.
Yeah.
Vancouver's got decent defenders, but if it's Anders Dreyer running downhill against his back line, he knows that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so he reacts in a different way. Christian Roldan knows that the attacking talent in the league he plays in is generally better than the defensive talent.
Yep.
So you need to be much more urgent in the way that you handle those situations.
Exactly.
And I don't see that level of urgency. And God, fucking Pulisic against Belgium, I don't expect much defensive work out of Pulisic. Let's be honest. It's never been a thing that he's been great about. But holy fuck, that guy couldn't be arsed to press anybody in the first half of that game.
Yeah.
And thankfully he was better against Portugal, but he was stuck playing a fucking terrible position. So let's talk about that tactical change. So we move to the Portugal match where the tactical structure gets a little bit closer to stuff that we've seen the U.S. have success at recently, with one large exception, and that is Christian Pulisic playing as a false nine or as the center forward, whatever you want to call him. He was playing center forward like a winger. It was. I mean, anyone that saw this before the game was like, "What?"
Yeah.
If you've watched this guy play soccer at all, this is probably not going to go well. And. Yeah. I'm just confused. I know Pochettino knows a lot about soccer. I know he knows how to put a team together. I know he knows tactics. I know he knows the game at a level that I will not ever achieve. I don't understand this choice at all.
So
it went as predictably as it possibly could have gone.
Yeah. I think that part of it was taking into account Pulisic's defensive work rate or lack thereof. And also, wanting to limit his minutes, but also have him be in high leverage positions on the field. So I don't think I don't think it was a good choice. I personally would have preferred to have Pulisic play in the half space instead of Tillman, and then bring on one of the other center forwards. And but that didn't happen. And I think that Pulisic, for what it was, I think it was fine. I don't think it was terrible, but it also was not great, and it also didn't do anything.
He gave up some crazy bad turnovers in bad places
He
because
really did.
he's dropping
He really
back to
did.
hold up.
Yep.
And
He's not a hold-up player.
Ignacio absolutely dominated him,
Yep.
and it was sort of predictable that would happen.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
They're having him drop back to be an outlet and like a hold-up outlet.
Yeah.
Like, in what way did we ever expect this was going to fucking work?
Yeah.
You have 3 center forwards on the bench, 2 of which are really, really good at exactly that task.
Yep.
So it seems more to me, like, this is what I'm talking about with Poch trying shit. It seems more to me that, like, Poch is, like, learning, hey, can I pull this off or not if I want to try it, than trying to actually build a team with some momentum towards winning. Yeah. It's more like he's still information gathering, as far as I can tell. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what it feels like to me. Because otherwise, this makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I agree with other commentators who said that, like, he knows already what his preferred, lineups and styles are, and he seemed to be just, like you said, just trying shit, just seeing, what would work and whatnot, and it's still kind of up in the air, like what it all means. I understand why people and why you might be like, made upset by that or frustrated, but like at the end of the day, does it really matter all that much? Like, is doing that
was the original question,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
does it matter?
Is it really gonna mess with the outcome of the the U.S. and the World Cup either way? The U.S. was never going to reach a semifinal barring miraculous something miraculous happening, and so it doesn't. It doesn't lower the ceiling in terms of that. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just gives us something to talk about, and it keeps people, the opposition, and also probably players in the pool. It keeps them guessing, and that's probably not the worst thing in the world, honestly. Like, I know everybody's like, oh, you need your everything set and your starters, and they need to have rapport, blah 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 blah. I think that is maybe less important in a World Cup and with this group of players than people are given credit for.
That may be true, and I have been a proponent of the fact that we overvalue some of the team building aspects of these games, and like, do we need to build cohesion and momentum, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at how Belgium and Portugal handled these games, they were very much rotating their players through. They were doing a lot of very similar stuff that the US was doing. So I don't want to overvalue any of those things, but I do want to, like, I think that obviously, like, ridiculous ideas perhaps shouldn't be attempted.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You still, as a coach, want to put players in a position to succeed.
Yes.
I don't see how putting Christian Pulisic as a false 9 meant to do drop back, hold up, outlet play is necessarily doing that, right? Like, I
totally agree.
So I think that there's two ways to manage this, and I would have loved to have seen, like, we saw Balogun in the first game. He's quite obviously the best striker we have. This is not a fucking debate. Right. We don't need to have a debate about it. It would be fun to see Ajibang or Ajimang. Ajimang. I'm used to Kweku. Kweku Ajibang does not play for the U.S. national team. He's a Ghanaian. He cannot play for the U.S. men's national team. Patrick Ajimang would have been really interesting in this role, I thought. And I did think when he came on was fairly bright and kind of interesting. And then they kind of moved him out to the left wing, and he got on a really good play there that also turned into nothing. But a lot of Greg Velasquez versions of Danger Adjacent in this one. Right. But I want to see, like, I don't mind trying shit if that's what we're doing. We're trying to learn things. Can we do them in ways that are positive?
Yeah. Yeah, like I would have loved to see, like, a 3-5-2 with, like, with Pulisic playing a second forward role. Like I think that would have been interesting and maybe showing a lot more in terms of the ability to attack and because I think that given the team's sort of issues scoring in the run of play, I think that maybe going with a 2 forward type setup might be a way to sort of juice that a little bit and get some rapport. So that would have been my preference, but yeah, I'm totally with you. It is kind of galaxy brained and weird, and the fact that that the team was still competitive, given that, I think shouldn't be overlooked.
I think the coaching is obvious. Like he's doing a pretty good job of giving instructions.
Yeah.
I think that the problem is it's high leverage, and in air, especially with the Belgium match, like the weird rotations out of midfield and inverted fullbacks and such, that like to create their build out shape that was interesting to a tactics nerd like you and I, but was also to the point you were talking about. Like you made the point that's like, hey, it keeps guys on their toes. Yeah, until the fucking water break.
Right.
And then what happens?
Yeah.
Right?
Then so, other teams make adjustments and you can't adjust on the fly.
And that's the other thing too. When you're playing against Portugal and Belgium, you have Rudy Garcia and Roberto Martinez, who are great coaches, who immediately saw Roberto Martinez. He may have seen, may have expected them to come out a certain way and set Portugal up to play a certain way, and they were sort of zonal marking, and then they went to, or actually no, it was Belgium that did that. They were zonal marking and they went to man marking, and just absolutely sort of took over the midfield at that point. Portugal was not getting a whole lot of joy other than when they would create midfield turnovers. And so they just sort of collapsed the midfield and just started attacking the ball in the midfield and then try to attack towards goal as soon as they got it. And that's how they ended up getting the first goal. So it's yes, you can sort of maybe for 25, 30 minutes create an advantage, but it doesn't last long.
Yeah.
And against these good teams with good coaches, they're going to adjust. And,
right, and we saw
good players take those instructions during that water break and immediately implement them.
And we saw over and over again, like that first 20 minutes or 25 minutes was really strong in both games, but the United States missed lots of chances in those sort of time
against Belgium. I would say they missed chances. Against Portugal, I say they failed to create dangerous opportunities into chances.
Sure, and that's like the big difference, right? Like if this team is lethal and ruthless, and they're able to turn those chances or half chances into goals, then the game state gets flipped and we're having a different discussion. But that's not what's happening, and it probably won't happen during this World Cup. It probably won't happen until the United States has better players.
The talent level is what it is, right? So maybe that comes to the question about expectations.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the problem, right? Maybe I was being naive thinking that after sort of comprehensively beating Paraguay and Uruguay with not their full complement of players. And to be fair, I think Tudor Rahman talked about this too. Poch really has never had his full complement of players.
True.
Maybe it was naive of me to think that level of performance would continue.
Yeah.
I was hoping for building upon that.
Yeah.
Not sort of reverting, not even reverting, but like going in a completely different direction that didn't seem to really connect at all to what they were doing before. And then having poor results as a part of that. So I said this to Joe Lowry. He and I had a back and forth about this. I was like, it might just be the fact that I'm just so fucking grumpy about how soccer fandom is going for me right now that I'm
sorry. I am laughing. I'm not laughing at you. I'm kind of chuckling wryly with you. So I feel your pain, sir.
Your team didn't just hire fucking De Zerbi. So regardless, like I think that maybe I could be in sort of an emotional state that's difficult for me. Like I'm putting too much emotional value on the results of these games, and that's part of the problem for sure. I would admit that completely. But I was also, hopeful that there might be some continuation of what we saw was what seemed to be progress in how this team was going to play, and Poch doesn't seem to give a shit about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and you mentioned Tutul Rahman, and I think that he had a thread yesterday on Blue Sky that really sort of outlined a lot of the ways that I feel I agreed with a lot of what he wrote, and it's basically, what we've already discussed, right? Is that the talent and depth is not the same as these elite teams, but at the same time, these two games showed the United States players going toe to toe with top 10 soccer teams in the world in a way that they've never done really before. They weren't trying to grind it out like Greg style. They weren't empty bucketing their way to respectability like Bradley,
Bob Bradley,
like Bob Bradley's teams were doing. They were playing ball, and I respect that, and the fact that they're as competitive as they were by just playing ball. I mean, it's really easy to imagine, a different coach putting out their starting players and bunkering and countering and playing just really, the most regressive bastard haram ball bullshit you have ever seen, and grinding out a 0-0 draw, through the first, the first round of substitutes, and then getting smoked 3-0. Like that's I think that would be just putting that words into that makes it sound like very familiar to me. Like I could totally see a different coach coaching this team to that kind of a result, and they didn't do that. And so it's I think it's a step forward, and it might not be a huge step forward in terms of results at the actual World Cup, but you also never know what it's going to be like, playing in front of home fans and in games that matter, and you never know, what happens to other teams during the tournament. It is a tournament, and once you get out of the group stage, it's a knockout tournament, and that's big time, and all kinds of crazy shit can happen during that, and I mean, just think we were a Wando sky goal away from.
That was because of Tim Howard. That wasn't
sure, but
us
like
playing that well.
Sure, I totally agree. But like we could see a game in the group stage where Tyler Adams does like Tim Howard level shit, and we're that close again. Like. Yeah, like that kind of stuff happens in knockout tournaments, and so I think that the main, like, my expectation is just to get out of the group, and then what happens, and I feel okay with the coach, and I feel like there's. Like, I don't feel like there are stones that are unturned, right? I feel like everybody has a really good idea.
There's no stone unturned. He turned all the stones over.
We know what this pool is, and he knows the strengths and weaknesses of those players, and they're gonna ride or die with that, and we'll see what happens. I don't have huge expectations, and I don't think anybody should, because it's a World Cup, and the United States is not an elite soccer nation, and it might not be during our lifetimes, and we just have to sort of, come to grips with that.
I mean, like 4 third-place teams are making the knockouts of this tournament, man. So,
yeah,
like,
I know.
It's
a different beast.
Yeah. So it is gonna be interesting to see kind of how that all plays out. I want to be clear, like, just because I'm grumpy about how these games went doesn't mean that I think that they're going to get grouped.
Right.
I mean, they might get grouped. I mean, they're playing in a hard group. Like now, granted, they're playing in a hard group full of teams they have played this year. Like all these are teams they're familiar with. Granted, that also means those teams are familiar with them. That you can look at it both ways. I think that they are capable of competing in all of those matches, but it is a tough group. Tuchel was discussing the fact that, like, by ELO rating, this is one of the worst teams of the last 20 years as far as like coaching like groups, right? If you look at like the entirety of the coaching time frame, when the coaches were in charge, this is not great, which is interesting to me because I do feel like this team has a higher floor than it did with Berhalter. Not significantly though. It's higher.
I think the floor is lower, but the ceiling might be higher.
Really, I'm the opposite. I think the ceiling is. I think the ceiling is just the level of the top end talent. The floor is the fact that Tyler Adams does not have to play 180 in the group stage.
Well, that's a good point. When I set the floor, I think of defensive solidity, and this team is not that. So that's why I'm a little concerned about their floor.
That is a fair point, and that should take us to talking about a few players. One of them is Chris Richards. This guy is fucking undroppable. Yep. And you want to talk about it that's have to play 90 of every fucking game? It's Chris Richards. Now, granted, center backs, that's fairly common, right? Like, playing that position, it's way different than playing a single pivot 6 for 180 minutes in 10 days. But he's essential. Like, the back line was immediately so much more composed against Portugal when he was in the game.
Yeah,
I think Austin Trusty had a decent game against Portugal, like one that I was surprised to see because he has not been that great. And I watched a few Celtic matches when Wilfred Nancy was there. It wasn't great all the time for Trusty there either, but Trusty I thought was decent in this game. But I also think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Chris Richards was playing next to him.
Makes a huge difference.
When you have he is probably the best center back we've had since like Beasler, maybe. Like, I'm trying to think of like someone who like solidified the back line in this way. I don't think Zimmerman was ever this good.
No.
And I want to go back to like Eddie Pope and shit like that. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff we're talking. Yeah, Gooch. Gooch is probably a really good comparison because really good in the air as well. And more of an anchor of the back line. So that's probably a good comparison is Gooch. But yeah, it's been a minute since we've had a center back that like he calms everything down.
He does, and I think that, and this is something I texted you, is that he fills the leadership, what I perceive to be a leadership void on the team, right? Like I know that that Wes and Christian both have sort of leadership qualities, and definitely Tyler Adams does also, but I think that none of them have that really sort of steadying, calm presence that Chris Richards does, and I think that means a lot, especially at that position. So he is one of the most important players on the team, in my opinion.
I mean, I gotta be honest. If he's not available in the World Cup, we're pretty well fucked. Yeah,
yeah,
we're pretty well fucked. We saw that against Belgium. I think Mark McKenzie can be a fine player for, mid-table French teams, whatever. I don't think that he raises the level of the team enough. And Tim Ream has 100% been father-timed at this point. Like, you could see it. Like, we were waiting for it to really get to him.
I don't think he should even be on the squad, frankly, but that's just me.
I mean, he's going to be on it because the Pochettino loves him. He's a smart soccer player. He has some really nice skills. You saw him distributing the ball against Belgium and creating some chances early in that game. But yeah, I
at this point he's just like USMNT Fontas to me, and so I'm over.
Except he's not tall enough to win headers. So
there's that. But he does have nice hair. So.
I don't know if it's nice.
Oh,
He looks like he could be in a Puddle of Mud cover band.
That's exactly what he looks like. Uh-huh. When I say nice, maybe it just brings back my grunge days and makes
your
me
grunge day, those 2000s sort of like
2000s, man. No, I'm talking like mid 90s.
Puddle of Mud was 2000s.
They were,
yeah, but yeah, exactly. I also thought
Reem needs to we needs to wear some cargo shorts with combat boots and ratty t-shirt and a flannel he got at the thrift store. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, and just sit on the bench wearing it.
Yeah, absolutely, that would be the best possible scenario.
Also, one thing that became abundantly clear in these two games is Matt Freese is number one goalkeeper. I don't think that's
he was great last night, man.
He was absolutely great. I know they gave up 2 goals, but some of the saves he made were fucking absurd.
Yeah.
The save he made early on when Bruno Fernandes hit that ball first time, that was an elite save, dude.
So yeah, when you're playing against elite players who can convert elite chances, you need elite stops, and he made elite stops. That's all there is to it.
Right. I mean, he can't stop everything if you keep letting people pepper the goal, but he almost got to Joao Felix's ball. I mean, I don't think he even saw it until it was past the line, the two lines of people in front of him.
Yep.
Anyway, I think that's abundantly clear, and I think this goes back again to things you said earlier about Poch probably knows who his guys are. He's just giving people moments to see if they can prove him wrong.
Trying different scenarios.
And Matt Turner did not prove him wrong.
He did not.
It's wild to me to see how far Matt Turner has sort of fallen since the World Cup 4 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't take his game to the next level. I think that's it.
Might have regressed a little bit.
He might have regressed a little bit. His distribution is just god awful. Like it is Pulse Camp levels bad. God
damn.
I mean,
Johnny Pulse Camp taking some strays. All of a sudden.
It kind of is. I love Pulse Camp, but he can't distribute for squat. So,
the other thing just because I thought it was semi-noteworthy because this guy has never really been that good when he's played for the U.S., Johnny Soccer was pretty decent until he had to come off.
Yeah. I was whelmed.
You were whelmed? I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was better than Aiden Morris was against Portugal. Like I really do. Like I thought he was I look at the defensive aspects of him and I thought he was much better defensively than Morris was. Morris seems more like I don't know. He seems to be a defensive midfielder that doesn't necessarily want to do the defensive work the way that I want to see. And I thought Johnny was a lot more active in that regard. Anyway,
I don't know. I mean, he was not helping out on Doku as much as I would have preferred, and maybe that was
he was on the other side. Tessman was on that side.
Maybe okay. I mean, maybe that was due to his instructions, but I mean, I was not impressed with Tessman either. So,
because he was doing that thing where he was rotating over to like left center back. It was weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think this is where Poch is doing his. I'm going to put this lineup out, give them these roles, and let them see if they can achieve them. Versus here's the tactical plan I'm using to try to eliminate this team. Right, that is my main concern with Pochettino. Yeah. Is when we get to the World Cup, is he going to be putting together a tactical plan to eliminate the opponent, or is he going to be going, "This is what I want to do"?
That's a good point. That's a good question. Who knows? That side was Mark McKenzie, Tim Weah, and then Weston McKennie sort of playing as a winger. Yeah.
It was not ideal.
No, it was not.
So we'll see. We'll have to see. I don't know. Maybe these games mean nothing as far as Pochettino's tactical plan, but I do think that it was. I did think that Johnny was at least decent. All right. The last thing we have to talk about is Malik Tillman, just because I know that this is a player that is sort of confounding to you. I I am also generally confounded by him. I don't really know what he's good at.
Uh-huh.
Like, he's the epitome of that modern midfielder that is like jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
Just does a lot of things, but never. I mean, I will say I rewatched the first half of the Portugal game, based on a conversation that I had with Joe Lowry, and he was pretty good at moving the ball forward up the pitch in several circumstances. So I will give him credit for that. I think he was also pretty decent as kind of a 10 against Belgium. So this is probably the best window he's had. But I also just I don't rate him to help this team score goals.
Yeah, and I think that the thing is, you don't need every player to be scoring goals, but if you have a player in that position, they need to do more to help provide goals. Now, whether that's they need to do things that help create chances, and I don't see that from him. And I've never really seen that from him, and that's just where it is. I remained, completely unimpressed by him, and so I don't really see the
guy's been
point.
sold twice for like a total of 50 million euros.
It's
like
crazy.
Somebody there's some, and I do think he is very much a modern sort of half space merchant midfielder, right? Like midfielder / creative winger, like whatever you want to call them.
I mean, I think people like him because he's big and strong and fast, and he runs and he'll do work. But like that's the more 8 or 6, number 6 skill set, and not the, if you're expecting him to be an 8/10. Where's the 10? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, what's he doing?
Right.
Like, how's he helping attack? And I don't see enough of that.
He's like if Darlington Nagbe was 6'2". Box to box. That's where the ball goes. He's good at that part.
Yeah. So is his brother.
Yeah.
And his brother didn't get sold for that much money, so I don't know.
I don't know that his brother's quite this good at it. But
he's not. He's not.
And I think Tillman benefited playing at PSV and playing in more of a wingery role at a team where it didn't matter if he was a winger because they were so much better than everyone else in the league, and he was able to score goals and be a little bit more effective. We're not seeing it as much at Leverkusen, especially now that they've their team has changed as much as it has. But I don't know. He's a confounding one to me. I got to be honest. This is weird for me to say, but I'd probably take Gio Reyna over him.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, at least Tillman, I have seen him play games where, he uses his physicality defensively in a way that I appreciate, and I've never really felt that about Gio. So,
Gio is loath to spend much effort defending. Like, that's just kind of how he is.
That's his thing. Yeah. One player we didn't talk about, but I did want to mention was Anthony Robinson, who's had a lot of injury issues. But man, he was great in both games and
looked like himself. Like himself. Yeah.
He is so freaking good, and he's one of those, put him in ink and you don't worry about him kind of players, and the United States does not have enough of those players.
And it was a concern going into these matches because he's really been struggling to get back to full fitness with Fulham and get back to himself there since his injury. So it was actually really nice to see him play significant minutes in both of these matches and look like the guy that he was. Right?
It did look to me like his efficacy kind of waned in the second half of games, so I don't think he's quite up to full match, full 90 fitness, but he's getting closer, and I think that without hopefully, knock on wood, I think he should be ready to go by the World Cup, and that it's just so important to have someone who's locked down, who can lock down like an entire wing of the field, and who's reliable, and who can play at a very high level. And so I'm super excited to see his performance.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So we'll have to see how that trajectory continues to go going into June. And this is the last last game before Potts has to make some decisions.
Yep.
And then we'll see a couple friendlies in May, or is it one or two? One or two friendlies in May? Yeah.
One against Tunisia and one against I lost it. I don't know who the other one is.
I mean, I can tell you very quickly if I just get a moment. Senegal. No, they have Senegal and Germany.
Oh, it's not Tunisia, it's Senegal. Okay.
Yeah, Senegal and Germany.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Those are not easy matches. Neither one of those.
No, they're not.
One of those teams, well, to my eyes, won the AFCON, even though CAF decided otherwise. And the other one, the last time the U.S. played them, got absolutely smoked. So these are both very good international teams. It will be good opportunities for hopefully us to see a structure and an idea of how this team needs to play going forward. Moving on to more frustrating soccer that happened over the last 10 days since we last recorded. The Kansas City Current went to Portland. Got absolutely fucking worked. And I want to be clear. I will give you all the caveats. The schedule has not been kind to the Current. They have had one home game, and then they had this part of the schedule. For some reason, the NWSL decided to go Wednesday games like right in the first month of the season. So they had to play 3 games in 7 days, and they were all on the road. Totally understand all of that. They lost all 3 of those games. One of them to a team who is dead fucking last in the league in XGD. And that's the only win they have this season. Cool. They go to Portland and look like absolute ass. And don't get me wrong, like part of it was because of some rotations. We had players who had just been signed as emergency sort of backfills that were on the field. But also, there was a starting front of Dabinia, Croy Bethune, Michelle Cooper, Ali Sentnor, Lola Banta, back from injury, full fitness. And somehow that team achieved 0.44 XG.
Is that not good?
Of those 5 players, took 3 fucking shots. 3. I mean, look, I said my piece about Chris Armas and what I thought about his ability to be a good coach and take a good team and do good things with them. And I don't want to like take a victory lap saying I'm right. We're 4 games in. Perhaps things will improve. I don't know. But this roster, first of all, is built fucking weird. They trade Claire Hutton to Bay FC. We're going to get to her later. Side note, they don't replace her in any way. They bring on another attacking midfielder that's now playing left wing because they have like so many fucking 10s on this team that they don't know where to put them. And so like we have this, I think somebody in the Discord said it, the oops all 10s midfield. I'm just, and then you hand that roster to a guy who can't make a reasonably constructed roster work. And what do we get? You don't even have anything to say. You're just like,
No, I will take a victory lap and pat myself on the back because I knew this was going to happen because Chris Armas is not a good coach. And when you bring in a coach like that and completely change sort of, the game model that was instituted in the last couple of years, and you get rid of one of the absolute best young midfielders in the league or maybe even the world, I don't know. That's a big problem, right? And you've all of a sudden, you don't have Bia, you don't have Shawinga, you don't have Claire Hutton, and instead of those players, you've as you mentioned, you've brought in a bunch of players who are very much alike to one another in terms of the kinds of positions that they play and the kinds of skill sets that they bring, but you have failed to address what is the engine room of the entire whole fucking team. Like, it's a huge problem, and all of this is just like very, very predictable to me and to a lot of people. I'm not like Soccer Nostradamus or anything. A lot of people, when Armas was hired and Hutton was gone, were like, "Oh shit, this is a problem," and it is a problem, and they haven't dealt with the problem. And what we've seen so far is that Armas has not been able to institute in a meaningful way the system and the style that he wants to supposedly see. So it's
they look like a disorganized fucking mess the whole time. Like,
right.
He's obviously trying to get them to press more, but their pressing structure sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
They're easy to play through, which is that is a cardinal sin, right? And you can handle that, right? If you have all this attacking talent, if you're able to put those into, you can still win, games, 5-3, and while you're implementing your pressing structure, but that's not what's going on here.
But they shouldn't have to fucking do that. This back line was the best back line in the league last year, and it's largely unchanged.
Yeah.
I mean, Alana Cook went down what was it, about 2 months left to go in the season, but they were still able to maintain a level of quality. Now, granted, I will caveat all that by saying Claire Hutton was standing in front of that back line, and that has a lot to do with why they weren't in bad positions very often.
Yep.
But still, this is a good back line. This is a very good back line that is getting absolutely worked because they're just basically set on an island by their team. The players in front of them are ill-equipped to close down areas that they need to. Like, they're easier to play through than Sporting Kansas City is right now.
Yeah.
The Chicago Stars were playing through their midfield.
Yep.
This team blows. They're terrible.
Yeah.
It's the only game that Chicago's been in this year. Like, if you look at the Currents XGD right now is bottom 5 in the league. I guess the silver lining is that they're underperforming their XGD by like 3 goals. So maybe it's worse than it really is, but still, it's bottom 5 in the league. The teams below them are Chicago, Utah. Both of these teams we know suck, and 2 expansion teams.
Yeah, that's not good,
brother. This team, it crashed every record last year in the regular season regarding performance. And
they were destroying teams.
They were elite soccer team last year, and you have turned them into fodder.
Yeah. Chawinga does not play in the midfield either. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, her coming back is not going to change this problem, except like you said, it's going to be like 2 years ago where they have to win 5-3.
Yep. That'll be fun, at least.
They didn't win a fucking title that year, did they?
They did not.
I know I'm like ranting, but it is so frustrating to me to see the people in charge of this team absolutely fuck it up. Like, they didn't need to do this.
It's like I don't know, I kind of feel special. I feel like we have our very own, set of dysfunctional billionaires in this city.
Oh, we're
between the Longs and the dude who owns the Royals. Woo! Boy, we are really doing it.
We've made it.
I mean,
the Longs are treating this team like a really expensive version of a fucking youth soccer team they sponsor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's gross. And they've already ruined a good thing. Like, that's the thing is that they fucked with too much stuff that they shouldn't have messed with, and now it's going to take a lot of thoughtful and creative signings to fix
you
it.
think if they go, hey Vlatko, can you take back over? He's going to want to do that.
Not given the current status of the roster, why would he? Like I wouldn't want to do it.
Or knowing that he'll just get the rug pulled out from under him if something goes wrong.
There's that too. If he doesn't, maybe if he promises to play certain people, that'll work.
That player is currently out with an ACL injury.
I know.
And I thought it was I do. Somebody was saying that it was karma that they're playing badly because of the poor decisions that they've made. I think Daniel Sperry sent me a thing about that. And I was like, he got like quote tweeted about it. And I'm like, it's a little fucked up. Like just because the owners suck doesn't mean the players deserve like bad things to happen. No. But it
is karma that they are playing badly because they like nobody, not a single person in the entire city or the U.S. soccer sphere, nobody who knows jack shit about Chris Armas was like, oh, that's going to work. Nobody. It's the most predictable outcome that could have happened.
Angie and Chris Long.
Well, I guess also Jesse Marsh. So, what was it? I think it was a Discord. Somebody said that
noted fucking smart guy Jesse Marsh.
Somebody said that
who's still talking about the U.S. men's national team job for some reason.
Somebody said that Jesse Marsh, put Armas's word out for this job so that Marsh didn't have to hire him as an assistant for the Canadian national team, just on purpose to keep him away, which is hilarious. As a hilarious thought to me. I don't think we have to worry. I really don't think that Armas can survive much longer. One loss, maybe two.
I think you misunderstand how dug in certain people will get regarding their decision making if they have to admit they're wrong.
Well, right, but there's admitting you're wrong, and then there's also just the cold hard facts of the way that the team's playing and the record. And at some point, it becomes too much, even for billionaires to ignore. So I don't think that he's long for the team.
We'll see. But who are they going to hire? Maybe they'll actually
anybody
hire one.
Anybody.
I guess the best part about this is they did only hire Armas. Both of Vlatko's assistants are still there. Both of which were the ones that Vlatko wanted to get the job when he quote unquote stepped away. So I think that maybe if Freya takes over, that things could stabilize a little bit. But I mean, still, like Alex Pfeiffer, let go, just sort of tossed her aside for no fucking reason. Well, I know what the reason is, but they tossed her aside, and she is
balling
for Bay. We know how good
balling
she is.
For Bay,
balling for Bay. You know how good we know how good she is. We know how good she is.
Uh-huh.
This was not difficult to see. How high quality when she tore her ACL, I was like, man, like, and she was like 16 at the time, and still an unbelievably effective winger in NWSL as a rookie at 16. And we knew that this was a good player, and this is I keep an eye on Alex Pfeiffer. Like, she's going to be doing things for a while, I think, in wearing U.S. colors, doing it. But there was no reason to do that other than you're mad because your kid's not playing over her. And they don't even play the same fucking position.
Yep.
Anyway,
it's pretty bad.
Moving on to other great things. Claire Hutton, who also left the team because supposedly she was not long for NWSL and wanted to go to Europe, signed a 5-year extension with Bay FC.
That's crazy. And that's one of those things that when I saw that across my timeline, I just chuckled. Like, what else can you do, right? You just kind of chuckle wryly, and you're like, oh, well, I guess that's that, right? Good for her to get out while the getting was good.
Well, I mean, she was notably a very good friend of Alex Pfeiffer's.
Yeah.
It's not hard to connect. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I really am not. But it's not hard to connect dots between Alex Pfeiffer's exit, Claire Hutton deciding that maybe this wasn't the place for her, sort of manufacturing a move away, and then and then signing a new deal somewhere else.
Yeah, if you look at all of that, all of the things that we've already mentioned, and then talk about the what was the name of the place, the After Dark place, snafu of the.
Oh God, I don't even want to talk. I don't want to say the word. I really don't want to say the word.
It's just
Sundown. It was
Sundown. That's right.
Hi-Fi is the name of it.
It's just like, it's just ridiculous, and it's just so very much of this moment, and of this moment in time, just sort of nationally and globally, and it's just such a microcosm of all the bullshit that normal folks are being subjected to in this country. It's like
that people of a certain class are completely oblivious to, don't care about, and are just unwilling to accept is important.
And insist on doing whatever the fuck they want, regardless of consequence. So,
right.
It's nuts. And yeah, like you said earlier, it's a depressing and disappointing thing when both of your local soccer teams are pretty much ass. So,
especially when the other one is like completely by the doing of the leadership of that club.
Yeah, they had a good thing. They had a great thing.
But they lost the first playoff game and just totally fucking overreacted.
Yeah. Yep.
And so here we are in not last place, but near the bottom of the league. Is it, where are they at? I don't even know where they are in the table, but 1 win from 4 games. I think they have as many losses now as they did all of last season.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move on to potpourri. More wonderful news. The Colorado Rapids did go for another big GAM trade to get Georgie Minongu, which I think this is another sneaky good move. The Rapids, we saw them right before the break, and they absolutely smoked Sporting, and now they have even more quality winger depth to blaze down the end line. I thought this was a great move for them, and it's kind of wild because didn't the Sounders like end up having a guy go out with an ACL like right after this too? So it's like not so great for them, but yeah, I mean, I think Georgie Minungu is a really good pickup, like a really good pickup.
I would be thrilled. I would have been thrilled if Sporting would have signed him.
I think the main reason Sporting did not sign him is because he still does not have a green card, so he's an international player. And Sporting is down to 1 international slot at this point. Now, we expect one of those to free up very soon because our guy Zoran Basong just re-signed with Sporting Kansas City. I think it was like a 3-year deal. I don't have the details in front of me, so I'm sorry for not having all of that ready. But he did re-sign with the club, and I would say, what's the best way of putting this? I think that is an indication of the fact that his green card is coming soon.
Right.
I think there was a lot of questions like why he didn't have a green card because he'd been with the team for so long.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 parts when it comes to being able to get a green card. One of them is length of time. The other one is your profile or compensation with the club that you're at. When we're talking about a P1 visa for athletes, compensation has a lot to do with whether you're able to get a green card or not. And this extension, I think, is greasing the skids to help get that done. So he is under contract through 28-29 with 2 options to 30-31. So I think, I got to be honest, I think these are these kind of middle of the roster signings that make a lot of sense. This is a player that has shown to be a quality, solid player for this team. He's one of the 3 captains on the team that Rafa Wicki has chosen. If you've ever gotten to sit and talk to Zoe, unbelievably cool dude. Really sharp guy, and also like he has the personality and sort of the vibes. And the one thing that I think this team is lacking is the vibes a little bit.
Yeah.
He's got the doggish shit. We all know about the Paul Arriola stuff versus Dallas. We know about his sort of bite in the game as well, which is, I think, something that this team desperately needs. Additionally, so I think I understand this signing, and I think he has improved significantly since he's joined this team.
He really has.
And he's become a fairly regular, inclusion in the Canadian national team as well. He's not a starter, but he is on almost every roster. He wasn't on the last one just because of his injury, but I think it's highly likely he's going to be on the World Cup roster. And, I mean, there's nothing to be – I mean, look, if having internationals that play regularly for their national team is generally a good thing for your team. And so I'm happy for Zoe, and I do think this is a good decision by the team to move forward with him.
Yeah, he's he's not a super expensive player. I guess we assume. I don't know what the details of the contract.
I think it's going to be in the Jake Davis range, like something like that, like in the just 300,000, 400,000 or 500,000 range, kind of in that range.
A standard professional contract, and he's versatile. He can play multiple positions, and like you said, he brings some of those intangibles that maybe some of the other players in the team aren't displaying. So I'm all in on Zoe. Plus, he makes good crepes, I guess. So, hooray for the crepes.
Go over to Zoe's house, get some crepes.
Yep.
I mean, it's good for you. He lived in Belgium for a while, so he probably figured that out. Maybe could he do the waffles? Is the question.
I don't know. I'm a waffle over crepe kind of guy.
Yeah, we might need to ask. I might need to get Sperry to ask about, can you make a Belgian waffle?
There you go.
That's the big question. All right, these are the deep, hard hitting questions we need to know. We need to know answers to. One thing to look for. All right, Sporting Kansas City is going to be playing soccer this weekend. 3:30 p.m. Central Time, same time that the current play. So that'll be an interesting one. They are heading to Salt Lake.
Salt Lake are good.
They're good. They're fun too, man. I sort of like cringe when saying that, because we're supposed to hate Salt Lake because of all of the things from the 2011 to 2013, 2014. There was just all the rivalry was so significant during that time, and I understand it, right? And I'm not trying to diminish any of it. This Salt Lake team is a completely different group of players and a completely different sort of setup and design than that team. And it includes a couple of players I really enjoy in Diego Luna and Xavier Gozo. Like, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's okay.
Sergio Solans, the guy that played at UCLA that they signed, he's really fun and good. Like, they have some fun players, man. I don't know what to say. Aiden Hazarkani, they have a lot of really fun young players on their team. Mm-hmm. And Pablo's kind of got them set up in this like 3-4-2-1 heavy counterattacky kind of setup, which is probably not great matchup for Sporting Kansas City. Young kids who like to run a lot, counterattacking. Not an ideal matchup.
How many center backs for Sporting Kansas City will start in this game? Are we just gonna roll out 5 center backs?
I think we're gonna see a 4-3-3. I think we're gonna see a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. I really do.
Seems like that's the case, doesn't it?
It sounds like in training that Ian James and Ethan Bartlow were kind of the primary center backs.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I don't know if Borges is, I did listen to Diego Borges say his name, and it is Diego Borges. So that is how he pronounces it. You can go to the Sporting Kansas City website and hear every player pronounce their name. So if you want to know how it's done correctly, but he says Diego Borges. So that's what I'm going to say. I don't know if he's going to start or not. I don't know what his level is or what his fitness level is, right? So all of those things I'm sure will be at play. But it sounds like Ian James, Ethan Bartlow, maybe.
Okay.
And then it sounds like Justin Reynolds and Zobasong are both getting to fitness levels where we might see them start.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know. I'm not trying to commit to something.
Sure.
But it's been a little bit. I mean, we saw Reynolds at the end of the last game. He looked pretty good. And Zoe has been training fairly effectively.
Okay.
So it's potential that we might see the closest to a healthy back four that we've seen this season, which will make a huge impact, I think, on the amount of workload defensively that LBJ is carrying, that Manu is carrying, etc. And hopefully that means that also we get to see LBJ, Manu, and Jake in the midfield.
That would be nice.
And then maybe we did not talk much about this, but we didn't talk at all about this, but our Serbian national team man, Dejan Jovalic, coming back from national team duty, he did get a couple caps this week for the Serbian national team, which was a huge deal. This was first time with the team since 2024, so very, very much happy for Decky and the fact that he was able to get his time with the national team over the last week. But there is some wondering, is Capita going to be available? Will he get his visa in time? I would say it's probably unlikely we see him in this game.
Yeah.
I think his visa is coming soon, but I don't think that we would see him play in this game. I think it would be a lot to ask for that to happen. But I think his visa is coming soon. Let me put it that way. So more Shapi at left wing. I don't know. I don't know what Rafa might do. Afrifa's probably back to decent fitness as well. So
I mean, Shapi seems to be the guy, right? Like, as much as I would maybe not appreciate that, Shapi has started every game so far. So,
I mean, most of that's been due to requirement. Like they did.
You think?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's
one would
assume. One would hope. But let's see.
What players on the bench of those games would you have started over Shapi if fully fit?
I'm just saying, we don't know until we know. So it's all a mystery until we see what's going on.
I think that Shapi is a player that coaches appreciate because he will do whatever you ask him to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's our new Kyrie Shelton. This is what he is, right? He is a player that will do anything the coach asks and probably makes too much money for his quality.
Yes. Agree.
But I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see the midfield. Well, that's what I'm really excited to see. Because if the back line is able to be a version, like if Reynolds and Zoe can both start, so Jake can go to the midfield, that would be huge in my opinion. And I'm really interested to see how this midfield works with, like you're talking about now, your back seven is basically as good as it's going to be until the summer.
Yeah.
Like when Belorian gets here, obviously the back line improves, but that's not happening until the summer. So in the meantime, you have Ian James, Ethan Bartlow, Diego Borges, some rotation of those players. Okay, we'll work out which one's better. Who cares? But if those fullbacks can be healthy, I think that changes a lot about how this team looks. In the midfield, and the midfield has kind of been the problem area.
What's the status of Reed? Probably
not ready for this game.
Gotcha. So we're hoping that that Basong is healthy and able to play left back, and that Reynolds plays right back, which pushes.
Correct, because otherwise Reynolds would have to play left back and Jake would have to play right back.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's cross our fingers and hope for that then. I agree with you. I think that the sooner we can get to a point where the midfield is settled and we can see the players that are going to the best rotation of players in there that we have on the roster, that the sooner we can do that, the better. the team is going to be for that. And so far, everything's been so, chop and change and, so many injuries and late arrivals. And it would just be nice. It'll be nice to sort of maybe get some games to build a little bit of consistency, both in the midfield and on the back line. Because those are the places where I think consistency matters the most in terms of those relationships, and it's been lacking so far, and I think that's been borne out in the way that the team has been playing.
I also think it's going to be nice to have a midfield setup where they can do reasonable rotations with guys like Kweku that can go in and rotate into, can sub in and rotate into their positions in a more natural way, as opposed to having to come play left back for 50 minutes.
You don't want to see Kweku play a little left back again?
I thought he was decent.
He was okay, but you don't want that to be a regular.
That's not what you didn't draft him to be your left back backup, right?
No.
Like that's not why he's here. He's meant to be a central midfielder on this team, and he does have the engine to do it, and I'd like to see him do that. But that's what I'm saying is, like, I feel much more comfortable in a game against RSL. Maybe we're winning, maybe we're not. Jake needs to rotate back to right back because Justin Reynolds is only available for 70 minutes. You bring in Kweku and let him play at the 8.
Sure.
And he's next to Manu and LBJ, and he's next to good players, and you're going to get to see him play in a circumstance where you might actually learn something, and he might actually learn something about the game. This team has been so short on players that it's just been really hard for them to develop any type of momentum regarding what they're trying to do, what team they're trying to be.
Yeah.
Developing all of the youth that's on the roster, like all of it has just been really, really difficult to create any momentum towards, because there's been such a short list of players. We get Kapita in, we get Borges is already here. We've got at least enough to sort of have an idea of like building a structure that is somewhat familiar and that players can sort of plug in and out of effectively. And I think Wiki will also appreciate that and be able to sort of build that structure. And maybe the international window has been a good time for him to take, step back, guys get healthy, and he can actually start building that out. That's really what I'm looking for in this game, because I think we're probably going to get the first look of what his ideal structure is. We think it's the 4-3-3 with Lasse at the 6. We think that's the case. It seems to be because he tried to do it against Colorado and didn't really work out. But I think the personnel grouping will be a little bit better for this game, and he might be able to make that actually function a little better.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think that's a perfect thing for everybody to look for is what goes on in the midfield, because that's the engine room and the heart and soul of the team. And so the sooner that gets solidified, the better off the team's going to be all the way around.
I also think, an extra week of training. Lasse's now been with the team for over a month. Yep. Like that, his partnership with Manu, his partnership with his other teammates is going to improve, and then hopefully we'll start to see those connections improve on the field. So that'll be what we're looking for on Saturday afternoon. And
right.
and next week we'll be back to tell you all about what we thought about it. Hopefully it's not a disaster. The way things are going right now with soccer for the two of us, I don't know. Anyway, until then, I'm Drew. He's Cody. We will talk to y'all next week.
Go Sporting.